getting to know you for who you truly are, why I felt so passionate about this is like, I want people to see that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to get emotional if I talk about it, but like that's my intention.
The nature of this conversation is performative, meaning that everything Meghan and Jamie say is geared towards guiding people's impression of them and their alleged friendship. This makes their statement sound self-conscious and superficial. I'm gonna get emotional if I talk about it, as Jamie claims, an excuse for not saying what will make her emotional specifically. The conversation is full of performatives like this.
To my amazing friend, Meghan, a great friendship.
For us, it's just become so lasting.
Yeah.
So lasting.
And so just multi-layered. And I think
oh, yeah. This is what I would wear if I come to your house.
all the time.
There's a difference between showing and telling. Meghan and Jamie constantly tell the audience what to think about them and their alleged emotions and friendship. They don't show it or leave it up to the audience to draw their own conclusions and perhaps infer that they're great friends. Again, this makes Meghan and Jamie's interaction performative and thus makes it seem contrived and maybe even rehearsed at times. However, as always, things are about to get worse. Before we go on, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more, and click the notification bell to get all updates. This channel is all about analyzing the language of influential people and criminals. Welcome or welcome back.
And I think that's what I feel called to do in this interview. So for me, it feels divinely ordered for that reason is like, I feel, I think that it's a gift to celebrate my friend with the world.
Way to make yourself and your random podcast sound special. Pious and self-aggrandizing language like this is a major sign of deception, which is in line with the deceptive flattery. In my previous video, I went into detail about the divinely ordered lie, links in the description box below. For the purposes of this video, it's worth noting that Jamie discloses her intention here. It's all about celebrating Meghan, which is insincere and suspicious. Insincere because we aren't told why Meghan, whose new podcast has been severely criticized, whose cooking show's at 3.2 on IMDb, and whose animated series was cancelled, should be celebrated. Suspicious because it casts doubt on Meghan and Jamie's statements, because if it's all about celebrating Meghan, can we trust Jamie not to be selective with the information she gives to her audience about Meghan? Who could trust the information in a talk show if the host started by saying, "Today I'm honored to have so-and-so as my guest," or something similar? For instance, Jamie only mentions the alleged positive comments she's read about Meghan, comments that she doesn't prove exist, by the way. And never mind the more than 17,000 negative comments to this particular podcast before Jamie deactivated the comment section.
I prep like crazy. And one of my favorite parts was just reading so many letters and posts and messages of little girls who are like, oh, wow, like either whether it's they're talking about your humble beginnings or talking about their dreams and like through you and through everything you've done, they believe it's possible.
It's too late to sell Meghan's story as a success story. Either someone forgot to tell Jamie or Jamie was compensated for this podcast.
I have never seen anything like what you go through on a daily basis.
I know.
With this, Jamie makes it clear who the audience is supposed to regard as the victim and the villain respectively, which is a side effect of her intention with this podcast, to celebrate Meghan, because that intention results in oversimplified protagonist-antagonist frameworks. Why is it oversimplified? Because of Meghan's track record, the facts that she's made damaging claims about Harry's family.
And also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What?
And made complaints that were meant to expose Harry's family, but only exposed her sense of entitlement.
Nobody prepares you.
But even down to like the national anthem. That's me late at night Googling, what's the national, I've got to learn this. I don't want to embarrass them. I need to learn these 30 hymns for church.
Just because Meghan now wants to rebrand herself with her low-rated cooking show, it doesn't make her past statements go away. The phrase, "you might be done with the past, but the past isn't done with you," comes to mind.
I have never seen anything like it.
I know.
I think what's so beautiful is when people connect, who are listening or watching, connect with the truth, and they'll know it's true in their soul when they hear and listen to this. And that's what I think is so special. And so
more over the top, overcompensating, performative language that's also highly manipulative, which ironically is the exact reason why the audience can't connect with the truth, whatever that pompous phrase is supposed to mean. Nothing, of course.
I love that, and I appreciate it because, if it's, the newness of our friendship, you're able to see that and think about the friends I've had for a really long time and their experience of watching it and going, oh my gosh. And then people that I reconnect with all these years later who literally look and go, but you're the same.
you're the same.
I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And how hard that is when I'm like, but I'm the same. But you're like, hey guys, I'm still here doing the same stuff.
That didn't seem overly dramatic and overly repetitive at all. What an honest and authentic moment in this meaningful podcast.
But you're the same.
You're the same.
I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And how hard that is when I'm like, but I'm the same. But
Way to move the goalpost, because it's never been about whether or not Meghan's the same. In fact, that could be seen as one of the problems. Her unwillingness to adapt, and the way she makes minuscule challenges sound like major problems. Other terms for that would be an inflated sense of self-importance and entitlement.
That's me late at night Googling.
In Meghan's case, what does it even mean when she claims to be the same? What is the same? Because in the engagement interview, she praised Harry's family.
yes, his family's been so welcoming and
You've met quite a few of them, actually.
I have, on both sides of his family, his mom's side as well, which has been really important to me too. But yes, the family has been great, and over the past year and a half, we've just had a really nice time getting to know them and progressively helping me feel a part of not just the institution, but also part of the family, which has been really, really special.
And Catherine's been absolutely
She's been wonderful.
amazing.
However, Harry had this to say.
Right from the beginning, before they even had a chance to get to know her.
What was that based on, that mistrust?
The fact that she was American, an actress, divorced, black.
But all those things within the family also were sources of mistrust.
Yes, judgment based on a stereotype right at the beginning. And I was defending my wife, and he was coming for my wife. She wasn't there at the time. And he snapped, and he pushed me to the floor.
Aside from Meghan and Jamie's performative and self-aggrandizing language, how can people trust the information they hear from interview to interview when that information changes? The contradictory information indicates that Meghan's a person who says whatever's most convenient for her at a given time. She can go from praise to criticism in no time. Notice, for instance, how she immediately attacks Harry's family the moment she's confronted with people's suspicions of her motives.
There are even stories that you knew all along that this was going to happen. You went through the whole process, and it was all intentional to build your brand.
Can you imagine how little sense that makes? I left my career, my life, I left everything because I love him, right? And our plan was to do this forever.
For us.
Our plan for me, I mean, I wrote letters to his family when I got there saying, I am dedicated to this. I'm here for you. Use me as you'd like. There was no guidance as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were certain things that you couldn't do, but unlike what you see in the movies, there's no class on how to speak, how to cross your legs.
Yes, his family's been so welcoming, so welcoming.
Now she makes the royal family sound unreasonable and makes it sound like she gave up on important things in her life, even though in the engagement interview she made this claim.
Also giving up your
nice.
career.
Yes, that's nice. Yes. But I don't see it as giving anything up. I just see it as a change.
Lack of accountability has many faces.
The newness of our friendship.
Considering the newness of their friendship, how can they talk about it being lasting or deep even?
For us, it's just become so lasting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So lasting. And the depth of our friendship.
With utterances like these, Meghan and Jamie keep giving themselves away because this friendship sounds more like it relies on mutual flattery in order to guide people's perception of them, in order to brand Jamie and rebrand Meghan.
Hey guys, I'm still here doing the same stuff.
Yes, and Meghan doing the same stuff over and over again is the exact problem. Like the time she was supposed to talk about an organization, but made it about herself instead.
It is very nice to be back with all of you at One Young World. And I was invited to pull up a seat at the table and prove that I belonged. I joined you in London in 2019, and by that point, it's fair to say, my life had changed rather significantly. I was now married, and I was now a mom.
It's too late for Meghan to brand herself as unselfish.
Yes.
And that people can't decipher what's real or what's not.
Yes.
And I think it's really hard for people to understand that even in this day and age, that things can be printed that just aren't true. Yes. I think that's really hard to wrap your head around.
In that case, Meghan underestimates a lot of people's critical thinking abilities, and she does that for self-benefit, so that she doesn't have to face reality. Most people know perfectly well that lots of news stories are based on rumors and gossip, and that's always morally wrong. However, those kinds of articles are easy to separate from what someone actually says. That's why we should always seek out information for ourselves and not let media tell us what to think. And that's why some celebrities are liked and others are disliked. Meghan and Harry have made millions of dollars off of complaining about the press, when in reality their own statements have caused division and thus headlines, naturally and predictably.
And now more of this incredible conversation together.
Let me correct that. Now more unreliable information.
How often do you see stories, whether they're in magazines or online?
I just have created such a strong boundary for myself.
So she says while shaking her head no.
There was this quote that I had up in my trailer when I was on Suits, talk about being a soothsayer or if it's divinely ordered. How on earth would this be the quote that I had printed up in my trailer? And I was on that show for almost 7 years. And it says, I've already settled it for myself, so flattery and criticism go down the same drain. And I'm quite free.
The irony of that statement when all Meghan and Jamie have done is flatter each other. But apparently the flattery isn't enough. No, Meghan has to make it all sound divinely ordered, thus making her life seem that more extraordinary in the most deceptive way imaginable. And Jamie can't help but have an authentic reaction to Meghan's quote, "Watch this."
And I'm quite free. And it's a very hard thing to put into action to actually integrate.
Yeah.
But it's become so ingrained in my mind because it was there before it actually applied to me on a level like this.
Not ingrained enough, apparently, because she still seems to enjoy the flattery.
Thing.
And you look the exact same with no makeup as makeup. And we're just...
That's very generous.
You are the most generous friend. You show up for your friends.
It's funny how Meghan didn't use this quote when she was only being flattered. It seems it's the criticism she doesn't like.
And today we are joined by the beautiful Meghan Markle.
Thank you.
And of course you need to stay in shape because you are a big actress in Hollywood.
Oh.
What do you do to stay in such fantastic shape?
Thank you.
Flattery and criticism haven't always gone down the same drain. The criticism aspect bothers Meghan to such a degree that she'll rather limit people's freedom of expression than see criticism of her being printed and posted. This was made clear in one of the most brilliant panel discussions I've ever seen.
So much brilliance on this panel. You know, I think as we look at what's happening in social media, and yet they're allowing this kind of behavior to run rampant. And at a certain point, they have got to put the do's behind the says and really make some changes on a systemic level. The systemic change has to happen at the same time as the cultural change is happening. Because if you're reading something terrible about a woman, why are you sharing it with your friends? I just have created such a strong boundary for myself.
Thus, Meghan hasn't created such a boundary for herself. No, she's trying to create boundaries for what people should have access to. And thus, she unintentionally reveals that she isn't able to put the negative stuff behind her, contrary to what she claims.
When I am able to not even just tune out whatever that noise is, to really not give it any credence, that has become so much a part of my day-to-day life. Why are you sharing it with your friends? I've really tried to distance myself from all of it, and that has challenges too. It does, I'm oblivious to a lot of things, but that allows me to live my life really authentically, make choices authentically.
Authentic is another example of a performative term. It's designed to make people think that Meghan's authentic, as opposed to letting people decide for themselves.
So for both of us, it was just a really authentic and organic way to get to know each other.
On the one hand, Meghan's self-aware, constantly aware of branding herself. On the other hand, she lacks self-awareness to see how contrived her self-branding comes across.
But that allows me to live my life really authentically.
No, it allows her to make choices that benefit her narrative about herself. There's nothing authentic about this conversation. There's nothing authentic about the excessive, scripted smiling in the cooking show. It keeps her from having to come to terms with how people perceive her, as opposed to how she wants to be perceived, which is like night and day. Way to never learn from your mistakes and avoid improving yourself, because everything is always someone else's fault, right? Same as when she disingenuously generalizes all criticism as hate, so that she doesn't have to deal with any of it.
To really wrap your head around why people would be so hateful.
That's also why Meghan surrounds herself with flatterers. Flatterers are useful in maintaining the facade, the false image, so she doesn't have to face reality. Flatterers like Jamie or this interviewer.
So how have you been able to manage the seemingly endless toxicity that comes at you?
Oversimplifying all criticism as toxicity, no matter how valid the criticism is, keeps reality from ruining Meghan's self-branding. The reality that the only thing that's toxic is judging social media content based on how it portrays Meghan. If it's positive, it's good. If it's negative, it's bad.
I'm oblivious to a lot of things.
And also oblivious to how she comes across. I'd say that's the biggest challenge.
Make choices authentically. But it also allows me to be really detached from the outcome. I can just show up, I can put good work out there, I feel confident with what we've created, and then let it go.
Meghan says that as if it's supposed to be inspiring and empowering, when in reality, this is the exact reason why her projects keep failing, because she doesn't want to learn from her mistakes. These aren't the words of a talented creator who makes content people want to see. These are the words of someone who's in it for herself, in one failed rebranding attempt after another. And considering the way she says it, she seems to know that what she's putting out isn't actually good work that she's confident in. I mean, the cooking show alone is rated lower than this movie.
Hello, Garrett. What do you want, Slade? You got anything on Vasquez yet? Maybe I do, and maybe I got nothing. Now get out of my face. He's after you and Sam. And what about you, Slade? He's after you too, or had you forgotten about that? Right. Point is, what are you doing about it? I'm gonna finish my workout.
Prince Harry, do you have that sense that the combination of the two of you, your different backgrounds, that you together represent something new for the royal family?
For me, it's an added member of the family. It's another team player as part of the bigger team, and
there's no class on how to speak, how to cross your legs.
It's another team player. She's capable of anything.